We are going to begin the funeral service for Mrs. Ethel Herbstman. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place in the silent mode or turn it completely off at this time. I'd also like to welcome everybody via live stream. On behalf of the family, thank you for attending as well. Services will be conducted by Rabbi Victor Weisberg and Rabbi Sholem Notik. At this point, we're going to ask the family, the mourners and the sofas here, to please stand and come forward as the rabbi is going to do the ancient tradition of cutting of the kriya.
Okay, listen. Okay. Gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Rabbi.
Give me that. Give me the knife.
You want to cut with a knife?
Yeah. Okay, now.
It's by our heart.
Gentlemen.
Thank you for everything. Thank you so much. You okay, Rabbi? You look like you're
I'm
50.
going to get through it.
You look like you're 50
Okay.
years old here.
Careful.
Listen, let's say the prayer again. Baruch,
Baruch
atah,
atah
Adonai, Eloheinu, melech haolam, Diane,
Diane.
Emmett.
Emmett. Thank you.
And you can wear this at least for 30 days, but not on Shabbat. Okay, yeah, okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Go take your seats.
Thank you.
Okay. Adonai ma'adam v'teda'ehu, ben enosh v'tchashvehu, adam lahevel dama, yamav k'tzel over, baboker yatzitz v'chalaf, la'erev yamoleel v'yavesh, tashev enosh ad daka v'tomer shuvu v'nei adam, lu chochmo yaskilu zot, yavinu la'achritam, כי לא במותו ייקח הכל, ולא ירד אחריו כבודו. שמר תם וראה ישר, כי אחרית לאיש שלום. פודה אדוני נפש עבדיו, ולא ישמו כל החוסים בו. The psalmist asked a question. O Lord, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him? Or the son of man that thou makest account of him? And then his answer. Man is like unto a breath. His days are as a shadow that passeth away. In the morning he flourisheth and groweth up, and in the evening he is cut down and withereth. Thou turnest man to contrition, and sayest, Return, ye children of men. Oh, that they were wise, and would consider their latter end. For when man dieth, he shall take nothing away, but his glory shall not descend after him. Now, the King James Bible, very popular, translate the Hebrew word kavod as glory. But since we're Jewish, we know the real story. When Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to the mountain the second time, there's this conversation between Moses and the Ribbono Shel Olam. And I highly recommend it. Because Moses feels that he's a failure. When he comes down the first time with the tablets, he sees what's going on around the golden calf, which is sort of X-rated. And so he smashes the tablets, very angry and upset with himself. And when God asks him to go up the mountain a second time, he's recalcitrant. I'm really not worthy. And there's this magnificent conversation between God and Moses. And finally, Moses says, "Let me see thy face. I want to see who you really are." And God says, "No man can see my face and live, but I will cause all my kavod to pass before thee." And if you come to shul on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot, it's the only time during the liturgy, before we take the Torah out of the Aron HaKodesh, the cantor says, "Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha V'Chata'a V'Nakeh." Those are the 13 attributes of God. And if you live past the feast of Pesach, when we sing Echad Miodea, the last one is Echad Miodea, Shlosh Esrei Midot, the 13 attributes of God. God is ever present. And your presence today is part of that godliness. God is mighty. God is powerful. God is kindly. God is merciful. God is loving. God is loyal. God is true. God forgives iniquity, transgression, and sin, and grants pardon. Now, when we are in position to show our very, very best self, strength, encouragement, kindness, forgiving, love, it's not just our personality, it's a reflection of our Godhead. We bring God back into our life and into others' lives and raise them even higher than they believe themselves to be. So when we think about Ethel, and her relationships, we should understand how we can personify those. Mark the perfect man and be upright, for the end of that man shall be peace. Amen. I think you have this sheet with the 23rd Psalm, and I'd like for you to understand that the Psalm personifies the life of David. And when we say Kosi Revaya, it's a reference to his mother, okay? Ruth was his mother, okay? Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binaot desha yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geitz al mavet, lo irara, ki adma ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha, hema yenachamoni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neget zorerai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdafumi, kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Let's join. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy staff and thy rod, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now we'd like to call on David and Janet, Bert and Helene, and Arnold and Karen to come up in that order. Okay. Wait now. I'm going to sit down. Okay. Okay, your turn.
Thank you all for being here. It's a great comfort to our whole family. She was our mom, but I think for those who knew her, she was kind of everybody's grandmother. We are sad and we are grateful. I am sad because Mom physically isn't with us anymore. I cannot try to make her laugh. I cannot tell her about her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. I cannot watch TV with her or play word games with her. I cannot show her pictures. I cannot tell her how much I love her. I can still hear her, though. I can hear her tell me to wear a hat and scarf. I can hear her say, "Don't work too hard." I can hear her say, "Go to sleep early." I can hear her say, "Have some more grape juice, it's good for you." I can hear her sing poems in Yiddish. I can hear her say "I love you" to her grandchildren on FaceTime and ask them how they are. Mom had a long and wonderful life, and I am so grateful for the time we had her and for my lifelong memories. Mom's parents were born in Eastern Europe, Grandpa Mendel from Poland and Grandma Risi from Lithuania. They came to the United States with nothing, leaving their parents and knowing no English. Grandpa Mendel was a house painter and Grandma Risi worked at Weibel's. They raised two daughters, my Aunt Rosalie and Mom, with a strong sense of hard work, the importance of education, and the importance of family. Mom graduated from Roosevelt University and became a teacher. She loved teaching and would come home from school, spending hours grading papers and working on lesson plans. She was the first teacher of the TESOL program, teaching English as a second language at the Wicker Park School. It's hard to fathom how she got us ready for school in the morning, then taught all day, worked after school, taught Sunday school, cleaned the house, made dinner. Mom and Dad courted in the library and married in 1946. They were a pair, Ted and Ethel, Ethel and Ted, and completely complemented each other. In our house, Dad shopped for the food, Mom cooked the food. When Dad passed away, Mom had just turned 60 years old. Living alone and learning to manage her financial affairs were a huge adjustment. Mom showed her resilience, independence, and genius. I cannot remember her complaining. Mom was enthusiastic about life. She enjoyed traveling, learning, creating things, whether pottery or paint-by-number pictures or crocheting tams and kitchen towels. She took guitar lessons at the Old Town School of Music and loved going to shows, plays, and lectures. She had lifelong friends, some even from elementary school, and was a wonderful and caring friend to others. She was remarkable with how she was with other people, a gift that extended even to strangers. She made friends easily, complimented people, and made people feel good about themselves. It was hard to be depressed around Mom. As kids, she would embarrass us by telling a waitress, a store clerk, an electrician, or her doctor how beautiful they were. She had a personality such that everyone loved her. She was upbeat and optimistic. She also took everything in stride. One time she was staying at our house in Flossmoor and received a call from a neighbor in Lincolnwood who said that she, the neighbor, saw a bear on Mom's roof. Mom got off the phone and was laughing uncontrollably that the neighbor had called and said to us, what should she do about it? She's 50 miles away. By the way, there weren't any bears in Lincolnwood. This is a time to reminisce, and we're hearing the most wonderful stories from friends and family. Friends have said she was like a second mom to many of them growing up. Most important to Mom was her family. No matter what we did, she always loved us. And Arnie and Buddy did some pretty bad things. She loved her daughters-in-law like daughters and confused lots of people by telling them that she had 6 children. She loved her grandchildren, would cook with them, got her ears pierced when they did, read with them, and was so proud of all of them. What do I want her great-grandchildren to know? That she had a zest for life. She lived every day. She was generous and a cheerleader. She liked to laugh. She was a happy person who made people feel good about themselves. What didn't she like? She didn't like when her beloved Bulls lost the game. She didn't like if guests didn't eat enough. She didn't like cats, and she didn't like if you went outside in the winter without a hat and scarf. We are so proud of our mom, her legacy, and her kindness. We love her and are so thankful for everything she has taught us. We are grateful for the time we had her in our lives and will forever have her in our memories. Thank you.
Bert and Helene.
Sometimes in life, you meet that person who gets you at hello. My mother-in-law was that person. Warm, engaging, full of life, and loving. I always felt that I was the luckiest person on earth to have a mother-in-law, Mom, who always loved, respected, and supported me unconditionally. As you have heard, Mom was an elementary school teacher. I don't know if she realized she was a pioneer in education for future women by becoming a teacher and a full-time mom in her generation. On my last visit with Mom, it ended like every visit ends. I love you, Helene. You are beautiful, and take care of yourself. And I always replied, I love you too, Mom. You are so beautiful. Take care of yourself. There is a song that whenever I hear it, I think of Mom. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. Mom was truly a woman who was young at heart.
We really appreciate all of you being here. Mom was truly the most sincere, considerate, and loving individual. Mom had a love of learning, a love of life, and she always spread goodwill to everyone that she met. Mom was so good to everyone. Anyone who knew Mom wanted to be with her. She would make them feel so good about themselves, and that was an incredible trait. Just meeting or talking to Mom would make anyone's day brighter and happier. Mom would tell every nurse, physical therapist, or aide who came in the room how beautiful they looked, how beautiful their eyes are, or how beautiful their hair or complexion was. After they heard these accolades, they would not want to leave her room. Mom was so easygoing, so content. Everything was always all right. Everything was great. Mom was optimistic about everything and everyone. She cared for every person she met. A few short stories exemplifying Mom's character. Mom had a student with 6 fingers on one hand. The 6th finger was non-functional. The family of this boy did not have the means to do anything about this, and the little boy would be made fun of. Mom, with the parents' consent, paid for and took him for his surgery, which corrected the problem completely. Mom was comfortable and at ease with anyone. Mom and I had the opportunity of being with and speaking with the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Mom quietly took me aside and told me to tell the Prime Minister, who was a bit heavy, that he should lose weight and that he should eat healthier. She was genuinely concerned about his health. This was Mom showing her deep concern about everyone. All who were there will always remember Mom and Dad's Passover Seders. They were amazing and very family-oriented. Mom's favorite was always singing Diane. Mom frequently came with us to synagogue and loved singing the prayers and being with her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Family was everything to Mom, and this is what was instilled in us and our children. She was always positive and never said a bad word about anyone. Mom was an educator, and she taught us that with hard work, we could become anything we wanted. She taught us the importance of education. Mom was blessed with 9 grandchildren, 20 great-grandchildren, and 1 is on the way. Wow, what a cook Mom was. My mouth still waters instinctively when I think of Mom's meals. Everything she made was so enjoyable. Her cookbook was in her head. Hopefully the children will come close to duplicating some of these delicious meals. Zionism was so important to Mom. And what courage for my parents to send me to camp in Israel for my bar mitzvah when I was 13 years old. This helped initiate my love for Israel, for our people, which has been with me my whole life. Mom and Dad instilled in us a love of Judaism and the importance of tzedakah. Just as Israel is a light to all nations, Mom spread a light to all she came in contact with. We will deeply miss you, Mom, but your legacy will live on in your children, their children, and all future generations. We love you, Mom.
Arnold, Janis, Karen. Hi, sweetie.
Well, everybody seems to have some interesting stories about Mom Ethel. Like it's been said many times, she was so beloved by everybody. In the early 1970s, I was student teaching at a school near where she was working. It was then Wicker Park School, and then it was renamed Pritzker School. And I came to her classroom for an observation. While I was sitting there observing her in the classroom, I got summoned into the principal's office. Now, if you were a child growing up in the 1950s, you know, if you get summoned into the principal's office, it's kind of a scary experience. And even as an adult, you still are a little bit frightened. So I sat down in the principal's office, and she said, "I must talk to you. Did you know that Ethel was a superb teacher? Oh. Did you know Ethel had a superb knowledge of her subject matter? Yes. That she relates so well to the children, the teachers, the faculty, and all the staff members as well as the parents. Oh." On and on she went, complimenting Mom. How Mom had successfully led the way by implementing the progressive TESOL program, teaching English as a second language. On and on she went, with more and more compliments. By the time the principal let me out of her office, the school day had long ended. I had already missed 2 trains and a bus. It was almost dark outside by the time I got back to my home in Forest Park. I was so proud of Mom Ethel and loved her so much.
Thank you all so much for being here. Mom was such an amazing person. She would have been 99 next month. Karen and Bert were with her at the hospital when she stopped breathing. On my way there, it was so difficult calling our 3 boys, hard to even talk, to let them know that their grandma had passed away. Mom would not have wanted her 3 boys to be crying today, but rather to celebrate her wonderful and long life that she loved. Her grandkids also. She was so unique, so friendly to everyone. I've never met anyone else with such an incredible personality. So many people would tell me that they loved Mom. You've heard that she's taught school in Chicago for over 30 years. She also taught high school U.S. history. You've heard a couple times now she started a TESOL program, mostly to Hispanic kids. I asked her how she was able to do that, not knowing how to speak Spanish. And she said it was easy. She showed me, she held up a pencil and said, pencil. She said they had to learn English, she didn't have to know Spanish. She had 2 wonderful husbands. My dad, Ted, who was so smart, funny, telling jokes and stories all the time. And Ben, more soft-spoken and such a nice man. Both were incredible people. And you heard 3 boys, 9 grandkids, 20 grandkids, and more to come. You've just heard about Mom from my brothers and their wives and Karen. I'd like you to get a flavor of who she was with some anecdotes about her to celebrate her life. Mom and Dad met at the Northwestern Library, where Mom was taking some classes and Dad was a student in the School of Commerce accounting. After that, they started dating. I asked her what she liked about Dad, and she said he was so funny, so smart, and so cute. Before she met Dad, she said she dated a lot, but never too long with any one person. I asked her if anyone else ever asked to marry her, and she said they all did. She had such an incredible personality, so friendly, complimentary to everyone. You always felt great about yourself just being with her for a few minutes. She sincerely made everyone just feel good. I learned from her that I was a genius, great looking, and very tall. Mom had a great sense of humor. After her knee replacement, she stayed in our house for 6 weeks. The nurses from the hospital would always ask how Mom was doing, and they would invariably say, "We just love your mother." But she did get me into a little trouble with them when she told them that we kept her at home in the dog's room. They asked how we could do that to her, but I explained that she had her own bedroom, her own bathroom, TV, and it was next to the kitchen. My mom was so good to her daughters-in-law, and thank you, Karen, Helene, and Janet, for always being so good to them, to Mom. Thanks, Karen. You did so much always for Mom and for your mother, Lily, who passed away last year. We miss her so much. Mom and Lily were great friends. Mom knew Karen for such a long time that Karen even went to David's bar mitzvah. Thanks all to her wonderful grandkids. They're all amazing. And they were all of them so good to their grandma. Thanks to Rabbi Weisberg, who came out of retirement today to officiate this ceremony. My mom and Rabbi Weisberg knew each other for 70 years, and Mom used to teach at Bethel Sunday School on weekends when after teaching all week at school. I have such great brothers. We're very close and talk almost every day, a reflection of how we were brought up. Since both of our parents worked and since I'm the oldest, they gave me the assignment of giving milk and cookies to my brothers when we got home from school, making sure they did their homework, that Bert didn't watch the Cubs, and David didn't watch the Flintstones. I remember Dad often telling David that he would never get into a good college if he continued watching the Flintstones. When Mom lived in Lincolnwood, we would all try to visit or call her frequently. One time, after I hadn't called for several days, she asked me if anything was seriously wrong and reminded me that Bert calls every day and David calls twice a day. We loved being with Mom and took her on some family vacations. She went with us to Alaska, Hawaii, and other places. She knew so many people wherever we went. We were sitting by a pool in Hawaii. The kids were swimming, and Mom said, she looked over to the other side of the pool and said, she knew that lady. And I could hardly even see her, and said to Mom, we're in Hawaii. How could you possibly know anyone here? But then the lady looked up at us and yelled, Ethel. The same thing happened all the time in Delray Beach, Florida, where she went every winter. We would go out for the early bird meal. We did it almost every night except when Mom cooked. We would walk into a restaurant and invariably someone knew her and would also yell Ethel when we walked in. Mom was so clever and resourceful. And I wasn't sure if I should have say this or not, but she wanted to make a special birthday for two of her grandkids, taking them to a downtown play. She was at our house calling for tickets, and Karen and I overheard the conversation. She said that even though it was last minute, she wanted to get great seats. We couldn't hear what the other person said, but then heard Mom say that she needed great seats because she was a midget. I know you can't use that term anymore.
Small person.
Small person, thank you. Then after a few seconds, we heard her say, and her grandchild is also a midget. It turned out that she sat in front of the first row, just in front of the stage. We once picked up Mom at the airport, and she was carrying 2 bottles of champagne. She doesn't drink. She said she felt bad for the flight attendants, with everyone there complaining and giving them a hard time. So Mom was so nice to them. She was complimenting them, saying how beautiful they were, and they liked her so much they gave her 2 bottles free of champagne. Everyone has said that Mom was an incredible teacher, and she was. Sometimes she came home with some funny stories. She also knew how to discipline kids if needed. Not us. She never really disciplined us. It was more kids in school. One kid was acting out and misbehaving so much that she finally told him to sit in the back of the room. He got so angry and said he would jump out of the window if he had to sit in back. So Mom said to him, okay, then jump out the window if you want. So he jumped out the 2nd-story window onto a roof and then ran away. He was okay. Karen wanted me to make sure that you knew he was okay. I don't think Mom ever told anyone again to do that. Bert already told the 6-finger story, so I won't say it again. Dad lived until all of his kids, his 3 boys, had their own kids. Passing away 5 days after Judy, David and Janis' oldest, was born. Mom lived to see all of her grandkids have their own kids. Mom, thank you for everything. Mom and Dad were incredible parents growing up, an inspiration to their kids, the grandkids, and to so many over the years. Mom, we will always treasure how you conducted yourself, your friendliness, intelligence, complete devotion to your family. Love you so much, Mom.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, Arnie.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
And we're going to call on Dan, Scott, and Mike.
Wow, I just learned something I wasn't expecting. I thought Grandma Ethel had only told me that I was beautiful. I guess she says that to everybody. But, in thinking about what to say today, I asked myself how to make a speech to honor someone like Grandma Ethel, someone who specialized in making heartfelt, beautiful, thoughtful, handwritten out. I think many of us remember her writing these long speeches at family parties and with a section about each of us and reading each of those, sometimes a little bit long, but always beautiful and wonderful. Mostly, I'm so happy and grateful for all the time we were able to have with our grandmother Ethel during the different phases in our lives, and for myself, the life of my family, my wife, and my children. So as a young kid, Grandma loved to spoil us with both love and lots of food. And as everyone has mentioned so far, she was a teacher by profession, but also a lifelong teacher to all of us. I can remember being a very young kid, probably too young for this to be happening, where she would walk, where I was with her at the park, and she would make me practice word families, say things like me, he, she, and then I would be allowed to play after I did that. But actually, Grandma taught me how to read that way, and so I was reading probably a little bit earlier than I should have been because of that. As we grew older, we would go to her home for multi-course meals, including but not limited to a kugel course, a brisket course, at least one chicken course, and probably a lot more. I'm also one of the rare kids who developed a love for gefilte fish that way and would ask for it outside of Passover. I think I may be the only person who does it outside of Passover. As a young adult, this continued, coming back to Chicago from college or from living in Boston, and really getting to spend time with Grandma, where she would really listen to us and tell us stories, tell us how everyone was doing. I know in just talking to my wife, who Grandma met almost 18 years ago, and immediately developed a special relationship, and many have said it, but she just really made everyone feel at ease and feel loved, and she did that from the beginning with our family. And this continued with our kids, with Josephine and Lukas, where she would have them tell her every detail of what was happening with them and what was going on in their lives, and then tell her every story about what was going on in her life, and sit with her for a long time doing that. She just had a special way of bringing family together, of always being willing to talk and always willing to listen. She's just been so influential in the lives of all of us here, my parents, aunts and uncles, my family, cousins, kids, my wife. She just had a way of helping shape us all be the people that we are today. And I just wanted to talk for a moment about a part of her legacy, a subject that I usually don't talk too much about, but she was very influential actually in the work that I do today. I helped start a company that does care for nursing home patients. Does it through telemedicine, telehealth, and helps them stay in their own beds rather than go off to the hospital and get the care that they need. And when I was starting the company, Grandma had a stroke very recently, and I spent some time with her and visited her while she was recovering. She had gone to the hospital herself a bunch of times. And just being the inspiration that she was as a lifelong teacher, and always telling me to pursue, probably telling all of us to pursue our dreams and everything we wanted to do, but also seeing her in the pain she was and knowing that she wouldn't want to have other people in pain, it really was part of the big inspiration to help shape the company. And I think her legacy lives on in so many of us, but also in this company that's now helping hundreds of thousands of nursing home patients a year not suffer some of that pain that Grandma suffered. So we'll all miss her very much and love her so much.
Like Dan, I remember when Grandma would have me repeat a lot of sounds and learn to read, and being very young, like cha, pa, and she would point to it and how patient she was. And then I remember shortly after learning to read, she asked my brothers and all our cousins what kind of doctor we wanted to be. So that was, even at that point, I knew that wasn't for everyone, I don't think. And I remember, I think I was in my early 20s, and we went to the Purple Hotel, which I know is an outdated reference, but I haven't lived in Chicago for many years. And it was for Grandma's birthday party, a special birthday. And usually on people's birthday, everyone goes around and says something nice about the person who's celebrating their birthday, but Grandma did just the opposite. She said nice things about everyone who's there. And I know for me it was exaggerated, maybe not for all of us, but I think someone was a famous artist, someone was running their own business, and I think after I congratulated my brothers or cousins and found out that that wasn't the full story, but that was the greatness that Grandma saw in people, and how loving she always was to everyone. Grandma really had a deep love for people, and my wife felt it when she met her the first time and thought she was like the most loving person, and I think she was happy to be complimented and told how beautiful she is, how beautiful her eyes are, and she did not know that Grandma says that to most people. So, but I did not tell her that that's the case. So this morning when I was thinking of what to say, I found a note at my desk from Grandma, and she wrote, "Dear Scott and Janis and beautiful children, all my love and best wishes, love forever." And so in the short note, she said how many times she loved us. That's just the kind of person she was. So I'll miss her a lot.
We used to love to go to Grandma's house in Lincolnwood when we were kids. All of us, the kids, my brothers and my cousins, we'd all play games together. Then Grandma Ethel would make a great meal, and after the 3 p.m. dinner, we would sit in the living room and talk all night with Grandma, usually sipping on grape juice, which she called a blood transfusion. When I got older, every time I saw her, she would hand me at least one envelope with a girl's name and a phone number. She chatted up probably every Jewish grandmother in Chicago and most of Florida to get those envelopes. But she'd hand them to me and tell me all about where Rachel or Sarah grew up, what synagogue she went to, and all of her accomplishments. It seemed like most of those girls were geniuses that won international math contests. Though I'm sure that all of those girls, those poor girls, they got envelopes with my name and a story about a math contest I supposedly won. Always be one little problem though, like the girl would be twice my age, or she would live in Israel, but her grandma insisted that she might come back to New York one day. Sorry, Grandma, I never called any of them. Like my brother Dan spoke about, Grandma also had a big impact on my career. She would talk to us a lot about the importance of education, and I was proud to follow her footsteps working for Chicago Public Schools and have continued to work in public education since then. Everyone knows that if you met Grandma for lunch, she would have already made 5 friends and before you arrived, and they'd all tell you how much they loved her. But sometimes Grandma Ethel would really surprise you. Like the year that I found out that she was watching every Bulls game, could cite rebounding stats about guys at the end of the bench like Nikola Mirotic, but she never actually told me before in 30 years of knowing me that she was a Bulls fan. You all remember the great foods that Grandma would make, but very few of you have actually tried her best meal. When she'd babysit me when I was little, she would take challah, make French toast, then use the French toast to make grilled cheese. This is absolutely delicious and paired very well with grape juice. Grandma, we love you so much. You're so loving and fun to all of your grandkids and all of our wives and husbands and our kids. And we will miss you and we'll think about you always.
We want to call on Lynn, Diane, and Teri.
Grandma, thank you for being the bright light in our lives and for making each of us feel so loved and supported. You were a matriarch, grandma, and great-grandma, but also my best friend who loved us unconditionally and taught us all the importance of family and being a mensch. You had a heart of gold and touched everyone you met with your kindness and warmth. You cheered me on throughout my life, whether on the side of the tennis court, graduations, even getting your ears pierced with me so I wasn't scared, or when I became a parent. You were always there with a smile and encouragement. I loved every minute I spent with you, and especially loved the times I got to spend in Florida with you on my own, whether it was driving around in your big Cadillac, which I was a little scared of you driving, playing shuffleboard, watching you cook paprika chicken, singing in Yiddish, reciting famous poems word for word, and talking for hours. You had a special gift and made others happy just by being in your presence and seeing you smile. I am especially grateful that you also had a special bond with my husband Adam and my children Noah, Danielle, and Maya, who loved you dearly and loved visiting you, telling you stories about their lives and showing you their latest dance moves. Danielle was so proud to interview you last year for her school project. When she asked you what was important to her family that you wanted to share, you told her it was important to be Jewish and continue Jewish traditions and values, which we will carry on. I feel lucky every day that they were able to see your light and love and will always have that in their hearts. I love you more than anything and will miss you every day. I am so grateful and lucky to have had you in my life for 43 years, and you will live on in your amazing sons, grandchildren, and 20 great-grandchildren always. We love you, Grandma.
My love for Grandma Ethel is immeasurable. It comes from so many special moments together. When I was little, I went to her Lincolnwood home all the time and played so many wonderful games. Munchkins, Rin Tin Tin, and Rummy Q. I recall fondly helping Grandma with Rosh Hashanah and Passover meals. We read under the apple tree that Pappy Teddy planted with my dad. We loved dancing together and singing Jewish songs. Later in her life, my kids continued the tradition of singing and dancing with Grandma. Seth even recently taught her his moves to Zoom Gali Gali. And Julia and Haley, along with Jonathan, sang with her in Yiddish. I love a story that Grandma fondly told from her wedding to Ben. When she first met Jonathan, whom she loved dearly, she shared how I ran up to her to hold her hand while she was under the chuppah. She said how special it was. She was there for me, and I was there for her too. Grandma visited me each year at overnight camp. bringing her unconditional love, sense of humor, and pride. I remember after I got my wisdom teeth out, Grandma told me to come to Florida so that she could help. When I got there, she was prepared with all my favorites. Always homemade, nursing me back to health. There was nothing like my grandmother's food. In adulthood, we were always so excited to sit next to each other at high holiday services. Usually talking way too loud, but we kept going until we got shushed. I also think of Grandma during the Passover Seder. She helped all the kids with the 4 questions and the songs, especially Diane. Grandma was the smartest person I ever met. So intuitive and perceptive and bright. So carefree with a joyful spirit. Things were not always so easy for her, and yet you would never know. In my last visit with her last Sunday, I kissed her kepi and I said, I love you. She said, I love you, and I said, I love you more. She told me to get some rest and said that she always wants me to be happy. I said that you make me happy, Grandma, and she said that I made her happy too. We smiled and I blew another kiss from the door. To me, Grandma was home. She was comfort, she was love. She taught me so many life lessons, from how to cook to how to show love and affection, to see the good in everyone, to never show unkindness and never say a bad thing about anyone. Even the road ragers that haunted her when she was driving. She always told me that it was just another way to say hello. Truly remarkable qualities. Sweet, cute, incredibly generous. That was my grandma. I love her very much and will be forever grateful for the amazing connection and love. Her heart was so big. She was my role model. Her goodness radiated, and her legacy will live on with me, my husband, my children, all of us, her entire family. I love you, Grandma, to the moon and back, and to infinity and beyond.
Grandma Ethel had a way of making every person she met feel like the most special person in the entire world. That is how she always made me feel. She actually threw me a surprise party in Arizona for my 7th birthday. Just 2 weeks ago, I was telling her nurse how I always remember what an amazing surprise she made for me 30 years ago. And Grandma said, I remember, I got you a phone. And she did. She had such a smile on her face remembering what she did for her family. And that is my grandma. She was so proud of us, and bringing us happiness was such a joy for her. Grandma, seeing you smile and happy was my greatest joy. After Zach and I got engaged, I went straight to see my grandma with him, and I was so excited to tell her. She said she wanted to give us marriage advice. I was watching it with my dad last night. Thank God I videoed. And said, always laugh it off, never argue. And she said, what's the point in being angry? Just always be happy and in love, just as we were that day. When Grandma had her stroke about 10 years ago, I slept overnight in the hospital at her bedside, and I wouldn't leave her side. When she was in recovery, I went to see her after work, and she always said, don't work too hard. This is something she said to me up until I saw her just 2 weeks ago. Don't work too hard. She pointed at the OT at the recovering facility and said, you should do that job. All that you do is play board games all day then. Food played a big role in my relationship with my grandma. Whether it was making hamantashen every year around my birthday when I would visit her in Florida, or making gefilte fish together every year together for Pesach. She loved food and cooked with such love. I would watch her in the kitchen in Lincolnwood when I was growing up and just be in complete awe of how she could throw together her mouth-watering lasagna or chicken with such ease and such joy. She never used a recipe, but would just be smiling away while she cooked, as she knew the joy it would bring us. I wanted to cook and be a chef because of my grandma. We made gefilte fish from scratch every Pesach. we got the fish and the fish heads, and when I always would say ew about the fish eyes, she tackled them with no fear and would be laughing, and we had so much fun together cooking. I always wanted to add extra sugar to make it sweeter, and she would say, no, that I added too much. But then when she tasted it, she said how good they were and how we made the best team. We really did. When she left voicemails for me, it was as if she was writing a letter. My dearest, most beautiful granddaughter, Teri, is how she would start every voicemail. Whenever we parted, Grandma said, you mean the world to me. And I would say, Grandma, you mean the universe to me. And she did. She meant so much to me, and I hope she knew what a huge role she played in my life. Pachi, Pachi, kichala, di mami kiffen shichala, di tati bringen kichala, sie gesund die bickalach. Grandma always would sing that to my babies, and it made them smile every single time. I love you and miss you so much, Grandma Ethel.
Okay. Judy, Ted, and Risa. Okay, girls, boys.
Okay. Hey everyone. Thank you everyone for sharing such amazing memories about Grandma. Grandma was so kind and loving, a real role model for me. She cared so much about others, wanting to make sure that everyone was feeling comfortable. Just one short anecdote. One time Judy and I were staying with her. Sorry, I'm not loud enough. And she asked my parents in advance what we like to eat. And they told her that I really like cottage cheese, which wasn't true. But Grandma went out of her way and bought this gigantic tub of cottage cheese. And she was so excited that she could make sure that I would be okay and I'd have something to eat. And it was just because that's really who she was. She was just someone who wanted to make sure that you were okay and comfortable. I'm just so lucky to have had her in my life. She just made me a better person, so thank you.
You're the one that's expecting.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm Risa, Grandma Ethel's youngest grandchild. I want to share 2 quick stories with you. My dearest Grandma Ethel was the most loving, smart, beautiful inside and out, sweetest, and easiest person to talk to, making everyone always feel welcome and like one of her own. When my husband Jay, who wishes he could be here today, and I started dating, she always asked me about my friend. The first time Jay met Grandma was in January of 2016, when we went to Florida to visit Grandma. We played a lot of Rummy Cub, went to the pool, and of course ate at 3G's. Grandma told us we needed to get there by 3:45 so we wouldn't have to wait, but said it was okay if we wanted to swim a little longer. We got there at 4:30, and boy was she right. The next day, my cousin Teri was there visiting too. We were making Homentashen, and Grandma Ethel's oven started to catch fire from some food on it, so we quickly turned it off. After the oven had cooled, my grandma said all was okay and just to scrape off the burnt parts. But don't worry, Jay scrubbed the oven to make sure she could safely use it. We had such a nice visit. More recently, in January, before we moved to Philadelphia, Jay, our daughter Raya, and I went to visit Grandma. While we were there, Grandma sang songs to Raya. Like Teri just mentioned, one song we had never heard before, Pachi Pachi Kichala, Mama Cave and Kichala. Raya danced to Grandma singing, and it really warmed my heart. There are many more memories I could share, but these are 2 times I will never forget, and I cherish all the times we had been able to have together. Grandma cared so much about her family and was loved by so many. I'm so grateful to have had these last 31 years together and feel so lucky that Raya got to meet my dearest Grandma Ethel.
I made a list of snippets of memories with Grandma Ethel in no particular order. Encouraging me to wear rouge, Father's Day at the Purple Hotel, talking about a job decision and her trying to encourage me not to work too hard, video calls when my dad visits and how proud she always was to hear what I was doing, even if I was literally just sitting there. Always feeling so welcome to run around in her house. Visiting in Florida, including with college friends, and Grandma insisting we all order the fish because she thought it would be the best. And my mom said, "What did you get?" And I said, "Of course we got the fish." Me and all of my friends had to do what Grandma told us to do. Asking me for my kitchen colors, which I was never really able to answer. Always telling me I look beautiful, no matter what I looked like. And the feeling of her unconditionally loving me, always wanting what's best for me, and always being so proud of me. I'm really sad, and I know it will take me a long time to process, but I think what I'm currently in this moment most sad about is my dad's loss and Uncle Arnie's and Uncle Buddy's. When I think about the relationship I'd like to have with my two boys, I think about Grandma and her boys talking on the phone all the time and visiting, and Grandma being someone that they turned to, even while they were taking care of her. It says so much about all of them, and my mom and Aunt Helene and Aunt Karen, that they've all had such beautiful relationships over so many years. I'm sorry that I won't get to hear my dad say Mom with his specific tone when he spoke to Grandma ever again. I am so lucky to have had so many wonderful years with Grandma and so many memories that I didn't include on my short list, and I will miss her terribly.
Thank you. Ashreinu, Ashreinu, Ashreinu Matov Chelkeinu, Umanayim, Umanayim Goraleinu, Umanayim Goraleinu. Happy is our lot, and grateful is our possession. You know, to be repetitive is something that my mother would come back and say, "That's not you." However, I would like to tell you something or share with you something. Many of us live our life and somebody else tells us what we've seen. Did you understand the meaning of that? Did you understand who that was? Did you understand this, that, and the other thing? And we're not always sure. But when we take a long view, we know how grateful some of us are because we had a Yiddish mama. I want you to know that I lived upstairs of my Bubby and Zadie, and I came down every morning, and I didn't speak English, by the way. I'm still trying. And Bubby would say, "Nu Chaim, hast du gesagt, de Moidani?" Okay. And I would say, "Ja, Baba." Okay. So to translate, Chaim is my name. And she would ask, "Did you say the Modani today?" And I would say, "Yes, Bubby." Okay. Now, Bubby had a name, Zadie had a name, but that wasn't their name. It was Bubby and Zadie. And if you heard these folks, you were talking about Grandma, Ma, okay? And I became a rabbi. and I learned a little Hebrew. Modeh ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechazarta bi nishmati, b'chemla. I give thanks to you, O God, ever living, because you gave me back my soul. Okay? And you were dealing with the person of a very great soul who saw good in everybody, who brought out good in everybody, who beamed with brightness, with kindness, with love, understanding, and she was a cheerleader. Okay? Okay. So we understand what a Yiddish mama is Tage gewesen. It was something very special. And those of us who were privileged to be raised with that person. By the way, once my Bubby was this tall, and I was in rabbinical school, and I said, Bubby, you have the most beautiful legs. She said, Sha. Okay, now, so we could make fun, we could cry, we could laugh, we could love. We understood that when we came to the table, there was something special waiting for us, okay? Were we rich? Okay, that's a joke. But Friday, Bubby would make challah. And she made I'm spoiled. She made a little challah, nor for mir. Okay. And when she made gefilte fish, she put a piece of parrot on, and she said, this is for Victor. Now, did I like the gefilte fish? I did. It was Bubby's. Okay. Did I like my challah? It was Bubby's. It was a gift. It was a gift from this lady. When we talk about Ethel, by the way, taught for me at Temple Bethel. She and her sister Rosalie were bright spots in our religious school because they were mothering to the children, okay? I'm not sure what everybody learns in religious school, but somehow we learn something about our teacher. We learned something. I hope they learned something about me too. Now, these two ladies, and they were really Schwestern, they were really sisters, okay? They loved one another, they were kind to one another, they loved each other's children, they were kind to everybody who came into their lives. It was a gift from Mendel. Okay? It was my privilege to know the grandfather, Mendel. Okay? And I revered him because he was a member of the Zion Mule Corps. What was the Zion Mule Corps? It was a bunch of Palestinian Jews who enlisted in the British Army and fought alongside of the British in the recapturing of the land of Israel from the Turks. Okay, my father-in-law was from the Kfutzat HaShomer. He was the youngest of the guards that became the IDF. So we have a picture of people. They didn't make a lot of noise. They didn't trump their great heroic actions. They were part and parcel of a dream come true. And they instilled that in their children and their children's children, as you heard. And von mir, das ist gewesen a große Nachas. You got a lot of cheer and a lot of joy from this. As a personal moment, I'm 96 years old. I retired at 68. When I got this telephone call, my first response was to say, no. I'm retired, okay? I walk with a cane and a walker, okay? But Ethel was special, okay? She was always a bright light. She was always a source of cheer. She was always having the children laugh and sing and be happy. And you know, that made my job all the more delightful and fulfilling. And as you heard from these gentlemen and their children and their children's children, because she beat me, I only have 10 great-grandchildren. She had 20 and one on the way, a Gesindafir, okay? We should be proud. What is a Jewish mother? It's something exceedingly special. When you hear the radio about children who are abandoned, children are afraid of their mother, think that their mother's someplace else, doing something else, being self-serving, and you hear about people who are joyously sacrificial, joyously accepting, joyously embracing, joyously present, okay, and making life happy. It's not just Hamantaschen or fried challah, okay, French toast. It's not just cherry pie. It's making every day and every meal something special when we sit down and share and feel that this was nor for mir. It was only for me, okay? And when she sang these songs and things, we should understand the treat that she had to someone to sing it to, and someone to appreciate it, and someone to look back on and say, Verboine Shalom, what lucky, how good it was that I had such bubby. Okay. I don't always say this, but I want to say it today, and I want to say it properly. Okay? Eshet Hayel Miyimtza V'rachok Miptinim Michra. A woman of valor, who can find? For her worth is far above rubies. Batach ba lev ba'ala, v'shalal lo yachsar. Her husband's heart trusted in her, and he had no lack of gain. Okay? Gumulatehu tov v'lo ra kol yemei chayecha. She rewarded everybody with good and not evil all the days of her life. She looked well to the ways of her household, and ateth not the bread of idleness. Many daughters have done valiantly, but thou excellest most all. Sheker hachin v'chevel hayofi, v'ishat yishirat Adonai kol tuv. Grace is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and may her works praise her in the gates. Ilu natan lanu et ha-Torah, Torah tova, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. It was enough for us, is what that song says. If only had she done this, it was enough for us. But she kept doing this and this and this and this and this and this to this person and that person and this person and that person, regardless of how great their station or humble their station. There was something that in Ethel that made everybody feel, Dayenu, that was enough for us, just to have that person in our life. May we remember her for blessing as we rise and pray. Eo mole rachamim, shochin bamaromim, ze menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashkina. V'ma'alot kedoshim tahorim, tehei nishmata, Adonai hu nachlata, v'tanuach b'shalom al nishkava, v'nomar amen. God full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest efficient beneath the sheltering cover of thy wing, among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of the beloved wife and mother and grandmother and great-grandmother, a friend, a wonderful role model, a neighbor, a person with love and laughter and joy in her heart, and willingness to share it and bring it forth from the deepest hearts of those who long to hear a good word and understand the value of an embrace in a beautiful song. May we remember Ethel Herbstman for blessing. May we remember Ted. May we remember Wendell. May we remember Risa. May we remember Rosa. May we remember Phil. May we remember all of her loved ones for blessing. And may she put happiness when she takes her place among them and will see that high. No mind. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not shipping. She's old. So it's wonderful that if we would go into the
Yep, I have the names of the pallbearers on the page. Go ahead. This does conclude the service at the chapel. Interment will take place at Shalom Memorial Park, 1700 West Rand Road in Arlington Heights. The procession will be forming in the parking lot. Please keep in mind a few safety features while in the procession. Keep your bright headlights on at all times. Put your emergency blinkers on. Attach the orange funeral sticker, and we'll also attach a flag to the roof of your car. Please stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. The family will be receiving condolences at the Herbstman residence, 1049 Oakhurst Lane in Riverwoods, today following the interment until 9, and Tuesday from 6 until 9. Also, at the Herbstman residence, 3018 Bonnie Bray Crescent, Flossmoor, Illinois. That's Wednesday and Thursday from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. That information is on our website as well as your folders. Following family members and friends have been selected to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, please come forward. Jan Herbstman, Scott Herbstman, Mike Herbstman, Lynn Grossman, Diane Welbel, Teri Herbstman Appel, Judy Herbstman, Ted Herbstman, Risa Wachtler, Jacqueline Herbstman, Adam Grossman, Jonathan Welbel, Zach Appel, and Jimmy Holzer. Please come forward.
Thank you.
What's going on there? Pallbearers, go ahead. All right, behind this gentleman. Jay, how are you? Excuse us, where are you? Hold on. Yeah, I'm just trying to, right this way. Right behind you.